Today we're taking a look at the FlexiSpot Sentinel, which is a budget-friendly all-mesh ergonomic chair coming in at around $400, though you can currently grab it on sale for under $300 on Prime Day. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you may already know that I've reviewed several FlexiSpot products in the past, and I've generally really been happy with their products. So after testing the Sentinel for about 2 weeks, I have a pretty good sense of what this chair does well and where it falls short. But before we dive in, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. That said, they had no say in the actual content of this review. They're only paying me for my production time and not my opinion. These sponsorships really help make this channel sustainable. It takes a lot of time and money to produce these videos, and acquiring dozens of office chairs isn't cheap either. So I really do appreciate your support in watching. So with all that out of the way, let's get right into the review. Starting with the design, the FlexiSpot Sentinel has a clean, modern aesthetic that I think really works well. It uses an all-mesh construction with a split backrest, meaning the upper back and lumbar support sections are two separate pieces. Now this split back design isn't anything new. We've definitely seen this on a lot of ergonomic chairs at this price point. But what's a bit more unique with the Sentinel is the lumbar support section itself. It uses a dual wing design with separate left and right panels that move independently. Now this is supposed to be an adaptive lumbar support that moves around with you throughout the day, and we'll get more into how that actually works in the comfort section. Overall, the look is really simple and versatile. It's not flashy or gaming inspired at all. I think it fits just as well in a home office as it does in a more professional environment. So whether your setup leans more minimal or you just want something that doesn't stick out, the Sentinel blends in really well. Now when it comes to materials and build quality, the Sentinel is primarily built with plastic for the frame and armrests. There's no metal in the arms or the chair body itself, but despite that, the chair does feel really solid. I didn't notice any creaking or wobbling during my time with it. The base is a 6-piece aluminum design that you'll need to screw together yourself during assembly, which is pretty standard in this price range. The mesh on the seat and the backrest has this kind of soft fabric-like feel to it. It has decent elasticity and it's fairly breathable, though I will say that the material itself can feel a little bit warm against your skin during longer sessions. It's definitely not the most open weave mesh that I've used. Now FlexiSpot rates this chair for up to 400 pounds, but I'd personally only recommend this chair to people up to around 275 pounds max. Anyone larger than that probably just won't fit into this chair properly without the hard plastic outer frame edges digging in. And since this is an all mesh seat, heavier weight could lead to the mesh sagging over time. But overall, the build quality is pretty decent for the price. Now nothing here is going to blow you away, but for this kind of $300 price range, it gets the job done and feels reasonably well put together. Moving on to the comfort, let's start with the seat. The Sentinel uses an all mesh seat. Now mesh seats can be kind of hit or miss, but I find this one to be pretty comfortable. The seat has a nice waterfall front edge, which helps reduce pressure under the back of your legs and promotes better circulation. We also don't have that foam pad in the front, which tends to kind of cause pressure buildup under your thighs. One thing to note though is on the footrest version, I can feel the footrest underneath the front edge of the seat. This kind of makes it a little bit harder to put your feet on the base of the chair if you want to do that. Now like all mesh seats, there is a hard plastic frame underneath that they use to wrap the mesh around. Now because of that, the seat is not going to be great for cross-legged sitting since those hard frame edges will dig into your ankles. So if that's how you like to sit, just keep that in mind. In terms of firmness, the seat leans on the firmer side, which is pretty typical for an all mesh seat. That said, it's still comfortable and supportive in my opinion. You also get a seat pan depth adjustment, which is a nice feature to have so you can dial in the fit based on your leg length. The seat itself feels really spacious, which I appreciate. So overall, I find the seat to be pretty comfortable for extended sitting sessions. Now when it comes to the backrest, it uses the same mesh material as the seat and has good elasticity. I didn't have any issues with feeling the rigid hard frame edges underneath while moving and shifting around normally. The standout feature here on this backrest is definitely going to be that adaptive lumbar support. Like I mentioned in the design section, it uses a dual wing design with two separate left and right panels that flex and move independently. This means the lumbar support tracks your movement whether you're leaning fully back into the chair or sitting more upright. It's a pretty unique approach compared to a standard fixed lumbar pad. Now in terms of how it feels, the lumbar section does feel very pronounced, which is pretty common with these split backrest designs. But since it's mesh, it's not going to feel pokey at all, and I didn't feel any of the hard plastic frame edges on each of those two sections. It just provides a consistent supportive pressure against your lower back. You also have a knob on the side that lets you lock the lumbar in a fixed position if you prefer not to move. And that's a nice touch since not everybody wants that adaptive setup, especially for focused upright tasking. Now on top of that, the backrest also has a ratcheting back height adjustment system, which lets you raise or lower the entire backrest panel to get the lumbar support hitting the right sweet spot for your height. I definitely found this feature really useful for dialing in the right fit. So overall, I found the backrest to be pretty comfortable to use. You have a decent bit of flexibility in the frame and you feel properly supported even when you're shifting around in the chair throughout the day. Now when it comes to the recline, the Sentinel uses a synchro tilt mechanism. The recline feels smooth overall and you get 3 lockable positions at 90 degrees, 115 degrees, and 120 degrees. That gives you a solid range whether you're sitting upright for focus work, taking a break, or leaning back to watch a show or something. Now in my experience, one notable complaint that I have with the recline is that the lumbar support section tends to ride up your mid and upper back when you lean back. Now this is a pretty common issue with these split backrest designs and it can definitely feel a bit awkward. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now you do have a tilt tension knob, but it's located under the seat, which I'm not a big fan of. I find it just a bit cumbersome to adjust while you're actually sitting in the chair. You pretty much need to flip the chair over so that you can dial it in. But this is a pretty common design choice that you'll typically see on these budget chairs. Not a deal breaker by any means, but a quality of life thing worth mentioning. The armrests on the Sentinel are 3D adjustable, giving you height, depth, and pivot adjustments. There's no width adjustments, which is a bit of a limitation, but the range of motion on each of the adjustments that you do get is pretty decent. What I really like about these armrests is just how sturdy they are. Despite being made of plastic, they have very little wobble or play. I can easily push off of them to shift positions or to get up out of the chair without any flex at all. When it comes to the arm pads themselves, they're reasonably comfortable. They have a decent amount of softness to them, and they're comfortable when you need to dig your elbows in. My main gripe with the shape is that they're scooped for your forearms to rest in. And because of this, if you're not resting your arms directly in the center, you can feel the edges kind of digging in a little bit. It's not a major issue, but it's definitely something that I notice in certain positions. But overall, these armrests are pretty solid. Nothing that'll wow you, but definitely gets the job done. The headrest on the Sentinel is 3D adjustable with height adjustment and 2 pivot point adjustments. The pivot uses this kind of arcing motion that goes down and forward, which is really useful if you tend to sit more upright while working, since you can get the headrest in a more comfortable position. Between the height and dual pivot adjustments, you have a lot of flexibility here, whether you like to have the headrest cradling the back of your head or supporting the curve of your neck. It also works well in both upright and reclined positions, and you can always move it out of the way entirely if you don't want to use it. The headrest uses the same mesh as the backrest, so everything has a nice uniform look. It's also wide enough that I didn't feel the hard plastic frame underneath, which can be an issue on kind of narrower headrests. So overall, this is a pretty solid headrest with good adjustability for the price. So now let's talk about value. The FlexiSpot Sentinel is normally priced around $400, but you can currently pick it up for under $300 during the Prime Day sales. And at that price, I think this chair offers a pretty solid value for what you're getting. You get a genuinely unique adaptive lumbar support design, decent adjustability across the board, and a sturdy build quality that punches a little bit above its weight class. So if you're looking for a budget mesh chair with solid ergonomics and a bit of a unique twist on the lumbar support, then the Sentinel is definitely a good option. Now, if you're interested in checking out, I'll have an affiliate link down in the description. And as always, if you have any questions or want to know how this chair compares to other chairs on the market, feel free to leave me a comment down below.